What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Let me bring you guys up here. Where are you? There you are. I was wondering where you guys were. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, April 30th, 2020, 11:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. And today, I want to give you my top 5 horror movie cliches. There's a lot of overlap. And what I mean by that, let's play that song again. You know what? I think I got to get an extended version of that song. It's not long enough. It's not long enough. It's about 30 seconds. Usually I like to hit around a minute mark. Anyway, yeah, so we are my top 5 horror movie cliches. I'm looking around, making sure everything technically is correct, and we're on and we're broadcasting and you can hear me and I think everything's okay. But you know YouTube, something could happen. So yeah, my top 5 horror movie cliches, but like I said, there's a lot of overlap in terms of, you know, these cliches, some of these are very specifically horror movies. And then there's a couple in here, I think, that, or maybe, well, there's one in particular that I kind of put in an honorable mention that could be in any movie, really. But I try to keep these to horror movie cliches as best I can. Now, like yesterday, when I was talking about, yesterday. I wasn't on yesterday. Well, I was on with two dudes and some bullshit yesterday. But on Tuesday, when I did my top 5 Dean Cundey movies, I said that, and I'll say it again here, that I think it's so important. It's more fun to do a top 5 list than it is, I think, to do a top 10 or a top 20. Now, sometimes, depending on who you're discussing, you can't do a top 10 because they just don't have the filmography, you know, that warrants a top 10 list. You know what I mean? Like somebody like a Spielberg, you could do a top 20, but somebody like a Dean Cundey, it's like, could we really do a top 20 Dean Cundey movies? I mean, not really. You know what I mean? So I always like to do top 5s. I mean, imagine doing a top 5 Spielberg. Oh my God. It'd be so difficult, but it forces you to really, in my opinion anyway, try to remove your bias and what you love or what movie you really like and look at, you know, what sort of is a technological achievement in the world of filmmaking and directing. But that being said, we're not here discussing directors. We're not here discussing really anything technical about the aspects of making a movie, although I guess this could be in the writing category. I wanted to give my top 5 horror movie cliches. Look, you could do a top 100, I'm sure. I'm sure you could do a top 100, and probably about 75% of them, so 75, would probably be, well, did you hear that one? Would probably be, I'm going to call that my Marty McFly. Sometimes in the morning, because I've been up early, I'm not talking, right? I'm doing other things. And this is like the first time I'm actually like talking. Sometimes it's just, I'm not a little warmed up yet. It's my Marty McFly. Hey, Doc, what's going on? Hey, Einstein. Just call it my Marty McFly when you hear me do that. Hey. That's why I got the old water there. So, yeah, so these could absolutely, what the hell was I saying? What was I talking about? I was talking about the horror movies and top 5 and I always think it's cool to do a top 5 because it really forces you to remove your bias and look at what is objective as opposed to what is your favorite. But like I said, I mean there could be a top 100 horror cliches, and 75% of that's what I was saying, and 75% of them are probably absolutely 100%. We see them all the time. Absolutely 100%. You could see like 75 of them all the time. Let's do a top 5. Here are my top 5. Let's see what your top 5 are like. I think everything's okay. I'm on. Haven't conked out or anything. I think there was a bit of a hiccup there a couple of seconds ago. Sometimes that happens. Okay, let's do this. And this is well, you know what? This is kind of in order. This is in order, actually. And let's see if your top 5, now remember, that doesn't mean, I mean, you guys are probably going to say something that I'm like, oh yeah, 100%. That could easily my top 5 and your top 5, I'm sure we could mix and match and easily interchange and 100%. Like, this is not an exact science, right? But these are things that when I see in horror movies, and it doesn't matter, and I'm just looking at the genre as a whole. So whether it's a psychological horror, now, most of these you see more in the slasher subgenre or the, I don't know, thriller category. I mean, you don't usually see these in like psychological horror or something of a little more mature that demands a little more, a little more from its writer, let's say. But certainly, Jesus. Here we go. Okay, so my number 5 for me. My number 5 for me is the okay. When I read this, I'm thinking about all these ideas. I'm looking at the chat room here, and you guys, all I see is seashells, garden hose, cat litter, sex, and drugs. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but he was using a monotone voice. I think you guys are... I'm like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Okay, so... hang on a sec here. Let me just make sure. I have a list up here that I wrote down. Just one second. I want to make sure that I cross-referenced it with something. And I want to make sure here. One second here. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I was just cross-referencing it with something. Sorry. I'm live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. All right. We're live. I'm good. I just want to make sure. Okay. My number 5 is this. And let's see if you have this on your list. Is when people are, okay, so it's a horror movie, right? And they're in a car. And it's either the car won't start, fuck no, or the car is fine, is working fine. You're driving, okay. I forgot you guys are up there. Normally I forget you guys are down here. You're driving along, and all of a sudden you hear like, and it's like the same generic stock sound that you hear in like almost every time a car conks out. And I'm like, does the sound designer not think to themselves, hey, you know what? This has been used in like 50 million sitcoms, 150 million movies. Maybe I could just find a different sound for a car. Now, I mean, you don't, to be fair, you don't hear it. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating, but certainly there are even modern day movies where I hear that, like it's like a clanking kind of sound. I think you know the one I'm talking about. The car breaks down, and I'm like, it either breaks down, it's like, oh shit, damn, I should have got that fixed, or they run out of gas, and you hear, and they run. How? Look. Unless it's woven into the narrative, okay, and, they thought they were filling up, but the bad guy came along and did something to the hose, and they didn't fill up. But listen, I don't know about you, but really at the end of the day, who runs out of gas? Who gets to the point where when you're about to run out of gas, and that's when you notice you need gas? Do you know what I mean? Or, I mean, to be fair, okay, maybe you're driving away from the antagonist and, oh my God, no, keep going. No, it's a little better. That I can buy into a little bit because it's almost unforeseen circumstances, I should say. You feel sort of a little bit of empathy for the protagonist because they're just like, they have no control over it. Maybe they've just gotten into somebody's car that they don't even know, and the car just happens to be low on gas or something. That's a little more digestible. But when it's like your own car and you're driving along and all of a sudden or hey, Jerp Pin there says flat tire. Yeah, flat tire too. Things like that. Just things that go wrong with the car, right? And the gas one is always kind of a bit of a pet peeve for me because it's like, write something. Write a zebra goes across the road. You swerve and you hit a tree. I mean, anything. I don't know what the hell is a zebra doing out there, but anything that is better than the cliche. Because again, like I said, unless you've come upon this car, you get into the car and and then it's a little more digestible because it's like, well, it's out of your control. It's not your car, right? What are the odds that you would let it get to that point before you realize that you need gas? It's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. I mean, I know I need gas, probably I think it might get to like a quarter of a tank before I, notice, but very rarely do I see the light come on telling me I need gas and I'm like, oh, I need gas. No, I usually know I'm getting to that point. But anyway, so that's number 5. Number four for me is, Darren Sand says it goes, the light switch doesn't work. That's a good one. I'm okay with, see, that could easily be on here. I'm okay with the lights not working because maybe the power goes out, or like if somebody switches the light because, and it doesn't work because maybe the power is out or something's okay, it's a little bit of a cliche, but okay. But if it's just the light just doesn't work and there's really no attention drawn to it, that's a little strange. Number 4 for me is the shoulder grab. The shoulder grab. You guys know what the shoulder grab is? Yeah, you know what the shoulder grab is. There's one in Halloween 2 from 1981. There's probably one in every fucking horror movie that's ever existed. There isn't one in It's Me, Billy, though. Ooh, a little bit of insight there. But I will. It's the shoulder grab that is I find, and 9.9 times out of 10, it's never the antagonist. It's never the antagonist. It's a misdirect. It's a jump scare. So it's part of the jump scare family, right? But it's that you see the hand on the shoulder. It's oh, geez, Jim, what are you doing here? Sorry, man. I mean, really, think about this. How often do you go up behind somebody and just touch them on the shoulder? Do you not walk into a room and, like if I was hanging out with Darren, right? And he's in a room. There's a 99, there's always a chance, I guess, if I just wanted to freak him out, but 99% chance I walk into the room, if his back is to me, I'm going to go, I'm going to say, hey, Darren, right? Or Darren, and he's going to turn and look. Now, I get why it's written that way, right? It's a movie, I get it. But I just find it, very rarely in a, environment that is hostile or creepy and eerie am I going to walk up to someone's back and just kind of put my hand on their shoulder. And then they turn around, oh, fuck it. I'm like, dude, hey, I've just seen how you're doing. Well, why didn't you call my name from back there, you idiot? Anyway, kind of strange. But yeah, that the shoulder grab is definitely something that that you see a fair bit, and it's not something that maybe I think there were a lot of cliches that have carried over. Not all have, but there were definitely tropes that were around 40, 50 years ago that were fine, that were not cliches then. You know what I mean? It's what it was, right? You go back to the 60s and the 70s especially. A lot of the horror cliches that we see today or that we saw all throughout the 80s and 90s, they weren't cliches when Black Christmas came out or when Halloween came out or Psycho or, whatever the case is. They didn't exist before that. So, the shoulder grab was something that maybe was very effective. And it's still effective if it's done in the right way, but you usually see it coming. You usually see it coming. So yeah, number 4 for me is the shoulder grab. 1 second here. I want to make sure again I'm referring to something I had written down here in Word, and I want to make sure that I am got this open correctly. Or not open correctly, sorry. The one sec. Because I got this mixed in with other shit I was writing down. Way to go, Dave. Way to go, Dave. Way to go. Way to go. Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I should have had this up before I keep closing it. Like I did just there. I should have kept it up. I always close things. I'm neat that way. So what's everybody else saying? Before I go on here. Tab the Short says, how many times have you been punched or slapped in the face, Frank? What are you guys talking about? What are you guys talking about? This is fun. Here I'm going off on horror movie cliches and Tabitha's talking about how many times Frank's been punched in the face. Imagine walking in on that conversation. Like what's going on? I love it. I think that's funny. Okay, so number 3. Okay, so number 5 is the car that breaks down. Number 4 is the shoulder grab, which is a real cliche. And my number 3 is the running into the house when you should be running down the street. You know what I mean? Like we've all seen variations of that. Running into the house when you should be running down the street. Now, it works if there are reasons why you would. There's somebody you need to save that's in there. You're isolated and secluded from the next neighbor. I mean, ironically, although, see, there's a false sense of security. It's almost psychological, right? Would you run down the street into the darkness if you were in the middle of buttfuck nowhere and you're the only house within miles? Probably not. You may run back into the house because psychologically it feels safer. Maybe there's a phone in there, there's weapons in there, right? You may be starting to sort of feel that fight or flight mode where you're getting ready to fight. So it all depends, right? I mean, it's not I'll put a little bit of an asterisk beside it because if it feels organic and it feels like a decision that makes the most sense because of the environment or the situation that the character's in, again, it's more digestible. But that's not the kind I'm talking about. I'm talking about that real cliche where there are neighbors that you could go to, or you could pick up the phone and call 911. But instead of running out the door, they turn the corner and run up the stairs. And it's like, what are you going up the stairs for? The door's right there. Open the door and leave and go bang on a neighbor's place. I mean, at least Jamie Lee Curtis got that right at Halloween. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of thing that Corey Dean just says, or upstairs when she could be going out the front door. Yeah, exactly. Now, again, unless there's, the person's child is upstairs. Sometimes we see that and you're like, okay, I get it. But sometimes, it's a situation where you're like, you wouldn't do that. Like, there'd be no logical reason to stay in the house, especially when you have a neighbor that's just a 30-second walk down the street or something like that, right? You would leave for safety. You wouldn't put yourself in that environment. But I'm okay with it if it's, if they're alone and they're isolated or there's a kid or, whatever, right? I'm okay with that. But yeah, that's when it's not done right and there's a decision of incompetence that is made in terms of, I don't believe the character would do that. I don't believe that if the situation was real, barring saving your own child or your friend or your parent or something, or you're in the middle of buttfuck nowhere and there's nowhere else to go. And obviously you don't want to run into the woods, you know what I mean? Because that's not, you might have a better fighting chance actually being in your house than you do in the middle of the woods. You know what I mean? So like, unless there's situations like that, I see it and I'm always like, why would you do? Come on, guys. Like, and it doesn't take much to write something that allows the audience to believe that this person would do that. You know what I mean? That would stay there or whatever. I mean, it just takes a little bit of sort of, rearranging and you implement something and it doesn't have to be major. It just has to be, it doesn't have to be a child, or it just has to be something that can allow the audience to go, okay, sure. Yeah. Okay. Right. Cause it is just a movie after all. Right. But yeah, that would be number 3 for me. Number 2 is, number 2 and 1 are connected to each other. Jason Wallace is falling on the stairs. You mean falling down the stairs? Yeah, that's one too. So number 2 has got a two thing to it. Number 2 is, it's got like 2 parts to it. Like there's like an A and B to it. Okay, but they're connected. So I didn't want to separate them, because one is sort of like, you can't have one without the other, kind of, or you can't have one without 2, kind of thing. Anyway, so there's 2 parts to number 2. Is the jump scare. Okay, the jump scare. However, there's a very specific jump scare that bothers me. Jump scares in and of themselves, I agree, are used far too often. But when they are used effectively, they can be pretty good and pretty cool. And I'm okay with the jump scare that is here or there. Like, I think that's okay. I think a good jump scare, when done right and done well, can be fun. But I don't want to watch a movie or make a movie that relies on jump scares. That's all there is. There's no real sense of suspense, or it's just jump scares. You know, we've all seen movies that are like that. But there's a very specific jump scare. There's a very specific setup to this jump scare that, you know, again, when it's done effectively, okay. But we see it so often that you can see it coming, and it usually ends up being, the result of this usually ends up being this. And this is what I'm talking about. So it's like, say I'm looking out the window, okay? Or I'm in a room and I'm investigating, right? And I'm looking around and there's nothing there. Okay, there's nothing there. And I'm backing up, and the camera is following me, okay? But then what the DP decides to do, obviously, because this is intentional, it's not like he's just deciding it in the spur of the moment, it's a shot that's set up like this, is the camera starts to move a little bit faster than me. So now you start to generate all this sort of negative space, maybe on the right side of my face, the right side of my face, the left side of the frame for the audience. And I'm backing up, and I'm not backing up as fast as the camera. I mean, the camera's not moving fast, but it's just moving a bit ahead of me, right? And then I start to do one of these where I'm beginning to turn, but I'm looking still back. You know, as soon as I go like this and turn around, I'm going to bump into somebody. And 99% of the time, it's not the main antagonist. It's your friend, you know what I mean? It's the teacher, you know, it's the janitor, it's whoever, you know, and you see it coming a mile away. And like I said, 99% of the time, it is it's not who you expect it to be. And now, when it's done well, it can be fun, and sometimes it's effective, you know, like there's a great moment but you see, again, too, you got to keep in mind that a lot of these that I'm talking about, a lot of them, even in their most cliched forms, can be digestible if the movie is fucking incredible. Like if everything else about the movie's really good. Like there's a few of these cliches in the movie What Lies Beneath with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer, but that's a terrific psychological thriller. You know, from the year 2000, directed by Robert Zemeckis. He did that movie in the break between Castaway, because they had to break because Tom Hanks needed to lose 50 pounds or whatever. So in the time that he was losing 50 pounds and growing a huge beard, the same crew that was shooting Castaway went off and did What Lies Beneath. And then when that was done, they went back and shot the rest of Castaway. Insane, but a terrific movie. And there's a few of those tropes in there. Like there's that moment when Michelle Pfeiffer's character is, I think she's looking out the window with the binoculars, and she kind of is backing up a little bit, and it's not quite as exaggerated as how I displayed it here and how you usually see it, but she's backing up a little bit. There's a little bit of the negative space, and then Harrison Ford, she bumps into Harrison Ford. It's like, oh my God, okay, it's just Harrison Ford, kind of thing, right? But the movie's terrific. So, it's not reliant on that. There's so much more juicy, great stuff going on in What Lies Beneath that, you throw that in there, it's like, okay, whatever, you know what I mean? But that would definitely be a pet peeve, a cliche that I'm just like, and you see it coming, it's a cheap trick that is, and like I said, when it's used well, it can be effective, but 99% of the time I don't see it used well. I see it used with, somebody backing up, the camera begins to roll on a little bit, create some negative space, and then all of a sudden the guy's going like this and he turns and, oh, Jim, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, Bill, I was just coming to see you. And, yeah, you see it. It happens, especially in the teeny slasher, teeny bopper horror movies, and shit. You see it all the time. So that's the B to the A. So the 2 is the jump scare, but specifically that kind of a jump scare. Like, I'm okay. Like, if somebody is sort of, about to open the door, and they open the door and a monster comes out. I mean, that could be perceived as a jump scare. But I guess it's just, I don't know. If it's done well, it's not bad. But I think to add a C to my number 2, so an A, B, and C, I think we could just say just bumping into people that don't end up being the person you think they're going to be. I think that we can all agree is just way overused and overdone. So if you want to add a C to my number 2, so 2A is just the jump scare. B, specifically the backing up, creating that space, kind of thing, right? But then if you want to add a C to it, I think just bumping into anybody, whether you're coming around a corner, you're running down the hall and you come around the corner and or you're peeking around the corner and then, you look back and, just that is so overused. And, if it's used once, okay. But man, it can be overused. That can be used like 3 or 4 times in one movie, So yeah, that's definitely something that I don't like. And my number one horror movie cliche. And again, this was utilized in What Lies Beneath too, but that's such a terrific movie that you allow it. You know what I mean? You can see it coming, but you allow it. But it was used a bit differently in What Lies Beneath. So I have to give credit where credit is due. And I'll explain that in a moment. The cliche for me is when the killer, the main antagonist, is out, right? Maybe he's fallen down the stairs. Maybe he's been shoved out a window, whatever. He's lying on the ground or the floor and he is out. And our protagonist, whoever that is, in order to get from where they are, I think you guys know where I'm going with this. In order to get from where they are to freedom, right? To the door or to the telephone or whatever the case is, they have to step over our antagonist or step in between their legs and then over. And it's, listen, at one time when this, I don't know what movie first did that, probably 50 years ago, who knows? Amazing idea. Oh my God, terrific suspense. Terrific in and of itself. It's a great idea. Oh, it's great. I mean, if this was 1968, my God, throw that fucking thing in there. It'll scare the shit out of people. 2020, God, we've seen it 500,000 times. And inevitably, although I will say there are some movies that don't go all the way, which is good because it's a false sense of security, or it's a false sense of danger, I guess, to some degree. But 99% of the time, the person is stepping over, and just as they're about to get to freedom, the guy comes alive and grabs the ankle, right? You saw it in Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. You've seen it in, there's a lot of movies that are like that. And it's not just a horror movie per se. I mean, that could be in an action movie or whatever, right? But we see that a lot. And the guy's going to wake up. There's still fucking 30 minutes left in the movie, or there's 20 minutes. He's going to wake up. And 9 times out of 10, he wakes up by grabbing the ankle of the person and it's like, didn't see that coming. Now, it was used in What Lies Beneath, but Harrison Ford didn't grab onto Michelle Pfeiffer. She was stepping over him, and then he kind of comes to, right? He kind of wakes up a little bit, which startles her and the audience. And then, but then she grabs the keys to her car and she darts out the door. So she's able to get away. And there's a low angle shot, very low, like right to the ground, with her leaving to go into the background and Harrison Ford just kind of opening his eyes, right? You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool, right? I mean, that's okay. At least he didn't kind of come to and grab her ankle. I was waiting for it. I remember when I saw this movie in the theater, I was thinking to myself, oh God, he's going to grab he's totally going to grab the ankle. I mean, we know he's not dead. So he's not dead. So he has to come to somehow, right? But sometimes the more mature, better way to do it, even more so than what Robert Zemeckis did in What Lies Beneath, although I understand why he did it, and it's perfectly fine, is maybe she just gets away. And she, we see her step over. You think he's going to do it, but he doesn't. There's no movement. There's no eyes opening or anything like that. She just is like, she looks and he's like, she looks and, she's thinking, I guess he's unconscious, right? She knows he's not dead, but certainly unconscious. So she takes off, she gets in the car, but you shoot it in a way that, although she's in a rush, something happens that you could believe that because Harrison Ford ends up in the back of the car anyway, but you see, she doesn't know that he's there, but you see, this is all for the audience, okay? It's not for the character, because the character is, no matter which way you do it, whether you have it the way that Zemeckis did it, or you do it the way that I'm saying it, the character is oblivious to both, okay? But this is for the audience. So the audience doesn't see his eyes open. So the audience, I mean, we assume he's going to come back, but we don't know for sure, right? We don't know for sure. And, but you have something, maybe she drops the keys and she's looking for it. And then she picks up and she gets in the car. Something that just allows that little bit of time for Harrison Ford to get into the back of the truck. She takes off. And boom, there he is in the back of the truck. It's like, whoa! It would even be a more whoa for the audience. Now, it's whoa no matter what for the character, but it's just that extra for the audience, right? Because we didn't see his eyes open. Michelle Pfeiffer didn't see his eyes open either, but this is for the audience here. So, yeah, definitely but I mean, that movie is terrific and that scene is well done anyway. But just that kind of thing where we see it a lot, where there's a guy lying on the ground, somebody stepping over them, and then the grabbing of the ankle or something. Oh my God. There's got to be, I would much rather, of course, if you start doing it the other way, then that would become an overused cliche where it's like nothing happened. Well, we know he's not going to grab her. We know he's not going to grab her. So look, all of these, like I said, let's go through them. My number 5 is the car breaking down, running out of gas, whatever. My number 4 is the shoulder grab. My number 5 is the running up the stairs when you should be running out the door, essentially, right? Or running back into the house when you should be running down the street, but it's circumstantial. Circumstantial. Sometimes it's believable depending on the environment and the setup. My number 2 is the jump scare, but there's an A, B, C to that, right? There's the jump scare in general, but B is the the backing up, and then but then we could add a C to that, which is just the bumping into anybody. You know what I mean? And then my number 1, is the antagonist lying on the ground, the stepping over, and the grabbing of the person. That's kind of how I see it. You know what I mean? And again, I really had to think. There are probably about 15 others that could easily be on this list, and you could switch them out. I mean, it's not an exact science here, right? But these are ones that, again, that's why the thumbnail and the title of the video, the title says top 5. I have to change that. It should say my top 5. These, again, is why, these are the things that when I watch a horror movie, cliched or otherwise, that I notice the most. These are the cliches that I notice the most. These are my top 5. But you could watch a horror movie and there could be something that you notice the most, more than me. Maybe car breaking down, running out of gas doesn't, you notice it because it's part of the story, but it doesn't bother you. It's like, no, whatever. I mean, makes sense. Maybe the shoulder, thing is, the shoulder grab doesn't bother you. Maybe you like it, right? Maybe it doesn't bother you. Maybe you don't roll your eyes at it. These are the sort of the top 5 that when I see, and when I especially see them in an environment against the backdrop of a story that doesn't really justify it, I'm kind of like, yeah. Yeah, of course she would do that. Of course that would happen. You know what I mean? But again, if you can write a story where it feels justified, It feels believable that maybe the person would do that. Can't get cell service, phone lines are cut, thunderstorm knocks power out. I mean, those are cliche things in and of themselves, but you buy into it because you're like, okay, I get it. I get it. You know what I mean? So anyway, those are my top 5. How is everybody doing? Hey, comment below and let me know if you're watching after the fact what some of your horror movie cliches are. What the horror movie cliches that you're kind of like, oh my God, or ones where you're just like, oh, you didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Comment below and let me know. And I'm sure the chat room is talking about it as well. Let's go back to the see what super chats came in here. A couple of them did. $5 super chat from Intel Wild. Thank you, Intel. It says, Dave, I watched Dr. Sleep recently. It was quite good. I thought the ending dragged on a little bit. Solid. Prefer Invisible Man overall, though. I have yet to see either, but I'm looking forward to seeing both. The Boogeyman is coming, sends in a super chat. Thank you very much, Boogeyman. Says, your thoughts on Universal announcing that Trolls made $100 million on VOD and AMC being so upset that they banned all Universal movies from their theaters. Is this the beginning of the end for theaters? No. My thought on that is this. Look, admittedly, I haven't done as much reading on it as I should. I sort of have the Cliff Notes version of it. But listen, from what I have been reading over the last day, $100 million is not exactly accurate, especially when you factor in the paying the streaming services. And it's more, I think it's more in line of about 75, 80 million. Nonetheless, that's a pretty good number. But there's a lot of variables there too, right? Everybody's at home. All the kids are home. Would Trolls have made $75 million off of streaming if this was, a year ago? Well, first of all, if it was a year ago, the movie would have gone to theaters. But hypothetically, let's just say that they put it to streaming a year ago when everybody's in school, everybody's out, the weather's nice, people are social, there's sports, there's things to go to. Would it have made that? Probably not. Probably not even close. So that is a factor that we have to keep in mind. In regards to the situation between Universal and AMC, I tend to side with AMC. Although I think it's a ballsy move to do what they did, I get what they're saying. I didn't do a video about it and I haven't really talked about it because there is no way in hell that this is going to last. They need each other. This is, they're flexing their muscles. They're doing this and doing what chimpanzees do. Okay, fine. But there is no way in hell that Universal is not going, that they're never going to play their movies. It's not going to happen. There are hundreds upon hundreds and maybe even billions of dollars at stake, potentially. So I think what I understand, look, this all stemmed from my recollection is Universal didn't inform the theater chains that they were going to put Trolls on VOD anyway. Where a lot of studios were, there's some spite in there as well. And Universal didn't do that, and they did. And then, of course, the president or the head or whatever his name is there, I forget his name, comes out and says, not the top guy, but one of the top guys comes out and says, maybe we'll be thinking about doing this more often. Yes, we'll still release movies in theaters, but you know what? I think we're going to start releasing some titles on VOD. And AMC was like, fuck that, fuck that. And I get it. I totally get it. There's an agreement in place that movies are to be released theatrically for, there's a 3-month window that you're supposed to have your movie playing in theaters. Now, there's different levels. I mean, no movie plays for 3 months. 40 years ago they did, but no movie plays today for 3 months at the biggest theater, at the most theaters. I sound like Trump there. The biggest theater, the most theaters. But there's a 3-month window that a movie has to have before it can go to streaming. And there's specific reasons for that. One of which is to keep the theatrical experience and the theater business alive. If there was no theatrical window, if there was no agreement in place where you had to do that, what's the incentive on not just putting it to streaming? Well, right now, the business model tells us that you make far more money, much more money, way more money releasing a movie to the theater than you do on streaming. Now, that may not always be the case. that could very well change down the road. Things are expanding exponentially. Technology is evolving. There is no doubt in my mind that, 20 years from now, maybe it's a different ball game. But right now, under normal circumstances, Halloween Kills ain't going to make $250 million on streaming. It could make, maybe that bit, I don't know about that, but it could make over 100 million, maybe 150 million now with everybody home not doing anything. But you release that sucker to VOD in a normal situation, ain't making that kind of money. There's no way it is. No way it is. It ain't. The business model's not there for that, right? Especially when you can, you would have to charge everybody $300 a ticket. I mean, you just can't, you can't do that, right? I mean, that's why, The Hunt and Invisible Man were $20 to rent, is because they're thinking, okay, well, usually somebody goes to the movie with somebody else. I mean, sometimes it's a big family and it's a group, but usually it's you and somebody else, right? So they're factoring that in. They're saying, okay, we're going to charge you $20 to rent. As if you're going to the movie theater. It's you and somebody else, even though it might just be you. But they're still losing money because you could rent it for $20 and invite 30 of your friends over. The business model's not there yet. You're still going to make far more cash at the box office for obvious reasons. But I think this was a AMC calling Universal's bluff. Because I believe the guy, forget his name now, somebody put it in the chat. I believe the guy who heads up the Universal side of things, the guy that made this statement, he has since come out and tried to do damage control, as far as I know. I think he was like, no, I didn't mean that. No, we love the theaters. We're going to release. I didn't mean that. He's backtracking. He's doing damage control because his bosses were probably like, I have no doubt his boss was probably like, hey, wait a minute here, right? As these things usually go. So there is very little doubt in my mind that that cooler heads will prevail, because they desperately need each other. Don't kid yourself. AMC needs Universal movies. They do. Oh, they do. And Universal needs AMC movie theater chain. And now Regal has come out and said, oh, no, we side with AMC. We're not going to play any of it. It's a calling. They know that. They know they need it. It's calling each other's bluff. And, of course this is not going to last. So I didn't do a video on it, and I didn't talk about it because I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that's it then. Well, that's it. That's it. No more Universal movies in theaters. No way. No way. Because the business model right now for streaming there's no way Universal can produce $150, $200 million pictures and expect to make that and then market them. You double that for marketing. Are you insane? There's no way. In the future, maybe. But not right now. And not in a world where people go back to work and go back to school and go back to restaurants and go back to sporting events, where there's other things to do. There's other things taking your time other than movies. There's sporting events. There's concerts. There's vacations. There's theme parks. There's, in a normal world, ain't no fucking trolls making 100 million. Ain't happening. On streaming, not happening. Not now. Like I said, in the future, maybe, but not right now. But again, could you make a lot of, and it depends on the budget of the movie too. It depends on the budget of the movie. Could Halloween Kills make its budget back and its marketing? Yes. But is Halloween Kills, in a normal situation with other things to go and do and see, going to make $250 million on streaming? Unlikely. And they want, Blumhouse and Universal sees Halloween Kills as a cash cow. Now, it may not be a cash cow. Statistically, generally speaking, sequels don't make much as their predecessor. Generally. There are some that make more, but generally they don't. But they want, this is like, my God, 250 million. Holy shit. We want to release this in October. We want to release it in the theaters. We want to market the fuck out of it because there's a chance that this thing could make 200 mil. That's what they want to do. You know what I mean? And so I kind of laugh because I think there's no way. There's just no way. There's no way that, well, that's it. AMC, there was no way. It doesn't, I guess the point I'm making is that it doesn't surprise me that I forget his name now. Geez, somebody, Jeff Shell, is that his name? Thanks, Darren. Jeff Shell. There was no doubt in my mind that when AMC said, fine, we're not playing your movies, that Jeff Shell was going to say, okay, fuck you too. There's no way that was going to happen. There's no way. And then when Regal said, fine, we're not playing it. Okay, fine, fuck you AMC, fuck you Regal. See ya. There's no way. The business model isn't there yet. There's just no way. They don't have a leg up in this. So it doesn't surprise me that Jeff Shell came out afterwards and was like, whoa, wait. Because I think he has. Since then, he has. Darren follows up with Universal countered the statement by saying they will complement theatrical releases with POVD where they see fit. Yes. And I still don't think they're going to do. Well, I mean, sure, but that's a huge where they see fit, right? That's a gigantic window. I mean, the vast majority of Universal Pictures released films will be in the movie theater for the foreseeable future, 100%. But, we cannot ignore the fact that when the business model begins to evolve and when things begin to change, and when streaming becomes a real, and which it will eventually at some point, I don't know when or how, becomes a very serious, it's more serious now than it was 5 years ago. And it was more serious 5 years ago than it was 5 years before that. And that's roughly about sort of where everything is. Because really streaming in its now, because the streaming wars are just beginning, folks. I mean, we are in a very interesting world. For many years, it was just Netflix. It was just Netflix. Now, it's Netflix. It's Hulu. It's Amazon Prime. It's Disney Plus. It's HBO Max soon. It's Peacock soon, right? I mean, the streaming wars are just beginning. And those 6 are not the only ones. I mean, there are going to be more. There are more, and there will be more. And so, I think that that a world does exist in the future where you could make a $50 million picture, release it on VOD in a normal world where there isn't COVID-19 and everybody is just doing what we always do, and that movie could make that money back and then some. I believe that. Yes, I do. Right now, I just don't think the business model is there yet under normal circumstances in a normal world. And it just does not surprise me at all that Jeff Shell, I guess his name is, or Shell, where'd it go there? Walked back those comments saying, well, no, we meant this and not that. Because he has since come out and said something like that. I saw it yesterday. So it doesn't surprise. I don't think that there will be it just didn't surprise me. Ballsy, like Darren and I were talking about it on Facebook, and I agree with everything he said. Yeah, ballsy move for sure. But there was no way this was going to stick. I mean, do we really think that, okay, fine, fuck it then. Fine, fuck you, AMC. Fuck you. See you, Regal. See you, AMC. And Cineplex up here is like the AMC in Canada, right? So I haven't heard anything from them. But what if they go, fine, fuck you too? And now you got Regal, Cineplex, and AMC. What's Universal? Okay, see ya. Fine then. You're just not going to, then we'll just fuck it. No way. Not now. But it's interesting. It's interesting to see these big giants flexing their muscles but I mean, this thing, there was something that happened. Wasn't it like something with Disney a few months back where Tom Holland was out of the MCU or something, and Sony was Darren will be able to actually speak to this. Something about Sony going to go off and do their own thing. Do you remember that? Right? And then I remember sitting and thinking to myself, there's no way. Now, I think Sony could do it, actually. I think they could. But I was like, no, there's no way. And sure enough, what? A week later, 2 weeks later, oh no, okay, we're not going to. It's like, and I'm not saying that they're faking it. I'm not saying that any of this is made up drama. I'm just saying that when you look at the logistical nightmare of what, and this is worse than that, actually. When you look at the logistical nightmare of Universal Studios, one of the largest, most prestigious, oldest, most famous, most respected movie studios in the world, no longer having movies in theaters. It's just not, it's right. No way. So that's what I feel about that anyway. Great question though, man. Great question. That was very long-winded, but hopefully that at least that's the details that I've seen, the information that I've seen, those are my thoughts. But I will say that to think that there will never be a world where that option is not viable, if not more preferred, is naive. Oh, no. I think that world is likely down the road, but it's not now. It's not now at this moment in time. Eddie Greens 101 sends in a super chat. Thank you, Eddie. Says, in honor of Tabitha's question to Frank. Oh, Tabitha, how many times have you been punched in the face, Dave? I love it. Is Tabitha still in the chat room? I think that's so funny. How many times have I been punched in the face? I have been punched in the face. When I was in school, I was in a couple of fights. There was a guy that sucker punched me. I remember his name too, so I'm going to call his ass out on here if he's watching. He's not watching. Guy's probably dead. He was that kind of guy. His name was Corey Bennett, and he sucker punched me. He was we were standing toe to toe, and he was bullying me essentially, and I was there, and I wasn't backing down. And he was a bit older than me. Oh no, actually, I think he was the same age as me because I'd failed grade 4. I think he was older than me. And one of his lackeys, one of his buddies, like, hey, Corey, he said something about your mom. Yeah, this is back in like the mom joke days, right? We're like serious shit, Yeah, your mama. It was like back then, it was like, whoa. Now it's like fucking lame ass shit. The kids today are probably like, mom jokes? What? Anyway, and I didn't at all. I wasn't saying anything. I was just standing there. And I turned to look at the guy that said it. And as I turned, he punched me right in the face. And my nose was bleeding. Didn't break my nose, but punched me in the face. My nose was bleeding. And of course, I'm like, oh my God, and they all take off and they run. And I got sweet revenge, though, because about a year later, that was, I think, after that year, I started working out and I buffed up a bit. And I remember the next year, he was picking on somebody, and I saw him, and I told him to stop. And he was mouthing off to me a bit. So I went underneath him, picked him up, put him on my shoulder. Yeah, like he was on my shoulder, and put him on top of the lockers. So we had lockers that kind of had like a top to them, and I put him up there. He probably doesn't remember that. But I remember it very well because it was sweet revenge. I didn't hit him. I should have hit him. I should have punched him in the fucking face. I should have kicked the crap out of him is what I should have done. But I didn't. I just put him up there. Just sort of like, yeah, this is what I can do. So just fuck off. You know what I mean? That sucker punch was so late. He thought he was a fucking loser. You were a loser, Corey. If you're watching, you were a fucking loser. Sucker punching somebody without them knowing. You were I'm not saying you're a loser now. Maybe you're a stand-up guy now. Maybe you're a great guy, great contributing member of society. Maybe you're an awesome dude now. I don't know. But back in 1993, 94, you were a fucking loser is what you were. Who sucker? I wasn't even looking. You sucker punched me. It's probably because you knew you had to do that or I would have kicked the crap out of you. That's probably what it was. But yes, so that is definitely true. Darren says Disney got greedy. They definitely, yes, that's right. It was about the share. That's right. Darren, my man. Yes. Oh, definitely they got greedy. And it was like, what? I don't think so. Oh, wait, I got a couple other super chats here that were a while back. Thanks for the super chats, guys. Really appreciate it. Intel Wild sends a super chat and says, how about when the phone rings and nobody's there, you hear breathing? Sorry if you mentioned already, getting ready for work. No, I didn't mention it, but that's one that could be on the list. Oh yeah, the breathing. Or just maybe the phone rings here's one that could go on the list too. The phone rings scaring you. Like you're sitting there and you're like, hello? You know what I mean? Yeah, that's a good one. Anything with the phone, you can probably find a lot of horror movie phone cliches, which is good. And you know what? There might even, I'd have to go back into my script for It's Me, Billy. There might even be a couple in there. You can't help it. There might even be a couple in there. But I've done my best to make it sort of all feel at least organic in some ways. Eddie Greens 101 says, Joker flirted with your number one during the scene when Arthur lets the little guy leave after brutally killing the big guy with the scissors. Flirted with my number one. Oh, I don't know about that, Eddie. I think my number one, I know what you're saying. Joker flirted with your number one during the scene when Arthur lets the little guy leave after brutally killing the big guy. I don't think that's the same. I don't think that's the same. My number one was talking about how when somebody's unconscious, the main antagonist is unconscious. You'd have to articulate a little bit more by what you mean, because maybe if you just articulate a bit more, you don't have to send another super chat, just at me. Because I'm not quite seeing it the same way you're seeing it. Definitely, we were under the impression that Arthur was going to kill the little guy, which he didn't, because he had respect for him. He liked him. I don't know if that's exactly what my number one is, though. But just at me and sort of clarify, and maybe I'll see more of what you're saying. But thanks for the super chat, Eddie. Really appreciate it. The Batman sends a super chat, says David Gordon Green's Hellraiser series on HBO. Yeah, I was talking about that the other day. I'm not a big Hellraiser fan. I never have been, although I do like the first one. But I'm always cool, because this was going to be a movie. I mean, the original idea was to launch the, where are we here? One sec. There we are. And just want to make sure, I was doing the show blind there for a minute. I want to make sure that everybody can hear me and that I'm on. It was originally, they wanted to reboot it as a series, but they are actually not going to do that. Or sorry, a movie, but now it's going to be a series, so they're not going to do the movie. You know, I couldn't care less because I'm not a big fan, but I'm curious to see it. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. Definitely curious to see it. I think it'll be interesting, for sure. Super chat from Intel Wild again. Thank you, buddy. Says, how about the super hot woman sleeping with ugly guys in horror movies? That doesn't happen in real life unless you were rich. Yeah, although, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, no, there are a lot of romantic comedies, teeny bopper films out there where the stunningly beautiful woman ends up with the nerd, and you're like, yeah, that just doesn't happen. Now, they can't say that doesn't happen at all. I mean, I've seen, and we all have. Well, there's no way to really class this up. Fat, ugly dudes with beautiful women. And you're like, how? Now, maybe when they met, he wasn't fat and ugly. I mean, maybe that's just but then what does that say? It happens. You know, we do see it. It's not unprecedented, but certainly that is a cliche. I wouldn't say that's a horror movie cliche, although it could be. That's maybe that's a movie cliche, because you see that in romantic comedies too. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like, what? I don't know. Toronto. Billy Toll sends a super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, Dave, Loomis believed Michael flooded. Let me go back. Let me see if I can get this back here. Dave, Loomis believed Michael fooled everyone. What if Michael also fooled Loomis and knows exactly what he is doing and why he is doing it? Thoughts? That's a possibility. Yes, that's a possibility. Maybe Michael is more, again, I don't believe that to be true because of the execution of the original film. But the further you go on, you can make an argument for that. Maybe Michael, yeah, I mean, if you get into the later sequels, you can make that argument. But I do think the original intention of the character was all we needed to know was in that first movie, right? But if you have to look at Halloween and the character of Michael through two different lenses, right? So there's the original film and its original intent, and that just was it, right? So do you know what I mean? And then you can look through it through the lens of its sequels. And then that's where you can make the argument. Yeah, I mean, maybe he was not as, maybe he's very smart, very intelligent, and he can speak 4 different languages we don't even know. I don't know. But it's the unknown that must remain there. I think it's unlikely that he was fooling Loomis in a literal sense, and that he wasn't, like, again, I don't think he was. I don't think Michael's stupid. I think he's definitely thinking, but it's more of an instinctual sort of impulsive thinking, but I don't think he's dumb. But I don't think he's cognitively tricking Loomis. You know what I mean? But you could make that argument. You could make that argument in the later sequels for sure. That's an interesting question. But again, it depends on the lens for which you look through the character. I don't think you can say that if you just watch the original film. I really don't. I think because of the way it was written and because it was always just supposed to be that one movie, what Carpenter was introducing in the script, he wouldn't have been fooling anybody when the original intent was just that one movie, right? So when you're just writing this one movie, he's providing you exposition and insight into the character of Michael that is real, right? There was no intention to do a sequel. So what he wrote was, he doesn't understand, he has no conscience, no reason, no understanding, even the most rudimentary sense of life. That is fact. Like that is fact because there was no sequel. So he had to let you know and give you some insight into the character, what was, because there was never going to be a sequel. But they did do a sequel and they changed that and they went back and they're like, oh, let's add this and let's add that and let's make this. And that's where you can make the argument. So I think, yeah, it's such an interesting dichotomy that is hard for a lot of people to wrap their minds around because the sequels are so much a part of the franchise now that it's difficult to look at that first movie all on its own. It's one of the reasons why I started doing this, not started doing the channel because I had the channel a long time, but I started to put myself out there is because I wanted to talk about things that nobody was talking about, mentioning sort of looking at the original Halloween from a perspective that nobody was before, that original intent. And I know now it's probably, I'm annoyed saying it. You're probably annoyed, hearing me say it, but it's true. And so that's a great question. But I think it's, what if Michael also fooled Loomis? I think that would be, if he was fooling him, that's Michael in the sequels. It's not Michael in the original film. But if you're watching the sequels, which includes the original film, then you're watching the original film through a different lens. You know what I mean? It all depends on the lens that you're looking through. So that's a really cool question. Great question. Thanks, buddy, for the super chat. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Toronto Freddy sends a super chat, says, I just purchased Halloween 2 on Blu-ray. It has this awesome documentary called Terror, Terror in the Isles, narrated by Donald Pleasance. Have you seen it? I have. It just purchased Halloween 2 on Blu. Yes, I think I have seen that. I think I have. Not in a long time, because I have Halloween 2 on Blu-ray. I think I have seen it. Yes, I have, because now I'm hearing Donald Pleasance's voice, so I think I have. Yeah, I think I have. Darren Sand says AMC were dumb to come out with such a statement when they have no idea what Universal's statement entails. Did they come out with a statement? Was that statement first? Wait a minute, I'm confused. Because I agree in principle with what AMC is saying. Although the statement was ballsy, I agree with that. But did they come out with their statement prior to Universal's statement? Is that true? Because if that's true, I thought AMC's statement was in response to something that Jeff Schell or whatever his name is had said, which I understand. Elaborate for me, Darren, my man. Super chat from Billy Van. Always got to do that. Just had a blind date with Myers. His Google Assist told me that he is going to have a friendly talk with the AMC CEO. They're going to have a dance-off. If Michael wins, the ban will be lifted. My God, Billy Van giving Frank Riker and Darren Sands a run for their money. I love it. Well, you know what? I mean, naturally, of course. That makes sense. Got to have that sort of, I understand that. Why not, right? Why not? That's funny. Bryce Russo says, hi, Dave. Hope all is well from Boston. Always enjoy tuning into your channel on a daily basis. Thank you very much, Bryce. Keep up the great work and looking forward to your future videos and content. Thank you, Bryce. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Corey Dean's always talking to me at Dave. For big roles like Freddy or Pinhead, they should get Robert Englund, Doug Bradley, etc. to coach new actors playing the role. I don't know if they should get somebody to coach them. I think it would be up to the actor to reach out to the actor before them. And I think if you are in a position where you can talk to them, like, I mean, you know, me reaching out to Robert Englund to pick his brain about how to play Freddy in Dylan's New Nightmare. I mean, oh, where'd I go? Where'd I go? There I am. It happened again. I don't know what happened. Very strange. Hey, it did that thing again. It did that thing where it did it last time. That's so strange. Remember that did that, excuse me, on last show as well? And I don't know why it did that. So there must have been a bit of a hiccup there. My apologies. But I think that when you I think when you are doing something official, there's something official that you're playing the character officially. So there's sort of an official passing of the torch, not a symbolic one or a fan one. Even though, like I said, these fan-made films, I mean, Dylan's New Nightmare is going to look spectacular. You know, Never Hike in the Snow is going to look spectacular. Our goal is for It's Me, Billy to look spectacular. So, I mean, you're going to watch these films, go, yeah, these are not, I mean, because at one time fan movies were like, you know, video cameras in your backyard after school type movies, right? I mean, that's what they were. But thanks to films like Never Hike Alone, you know, and independent filmmakers are utilizing their resources, you know. And when I say independent filmmakers, I'm talking about those of us that actually have access to those resources and work at a certain level in the film industry. So it's, you know, they're starting to, they're real movies is what they are. But having said that, they are not official, right? So I don't know if it's the job, or I don't think it would be, I actually don't think it would be indicative or it would help to have, you know, Robert Englund on set with whoever is the next Freddy actually, you know, they're sort of shadowing him, right? Like, and coaching him. I think taking Robert out to lunch and picking his brain, I think is a healthy thing and a very good idea, and is the legwork that an actor should do when taking on such an iconic role. And then you sort of, you know, you learn some tricks and, you know, some things, but you also want it to make it your own. You know, you want to put your own stamp on it. You want to be, it has to be yours. You know what I mean? And having somebody there, you know, over your shoulder all the time might actually work against it. But I get the principle of what you're saying, and I agree. Song Fan says, Dave, do you think that Rick Rosenthal would have directed Halloween H18 a bit better? No, I don't think so, because it comes down to writing, right? It's, look, a good director can sometimes make a bad script more palpable, but a bad script's a bad script. You know what I mean? And I'm not suggesting that the 2018 Halloween movie is a bad script. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just going to the extreme to make my point. Because I don't think it's a bad script. I actually don't. But I don't know if Rick Rosenthal would have made Halloween 18 better. No, I don't think so. Tabitha Short says, is that what your wife told you, Jason Knight? Talking, it sounds like a punchline to a joke. That's what she said. It kind of sounds like that. Did Darren get back to me? Darren, did you get back to me? I'm scrolling here. Scrolling. I don't see Darren didn't, but he did say this. Darren said, I only got hit once in a bar, flat out. I woke to some woman hitting her boyfriend saying, not that guy, him over there. Mistaken identity and a fat lip. Are you serious? Oh my goodness, Darren. Oh my goodness. That is, that's funny. That's really funny. Oh my God. I mean, I'm glad you're okay. But what a story to tell. That's really funny. That's great. Johnny T says, growing up as a kid watching Halloween, I used to always think Myers would be easy to escape, being that he only walked. Just stay at least 20 feet away and always keep him in sight. Well, it's his ability to pop out of nowhere unexpectedly, you know. So when you get to safety, it's his ability, because eventually he'll find you. It's not really the chase. The chase is the adrenaline rush, right? No, he's not going to catch you in a chase. But when you do get to what you perceive as safety, you know, and you lock the door and, you know, you turn off the lights and you close but all of a sudden there's a window open and he's in the house. You know, it's that, how does he get from there to there? It's that supernatural element. I keep looking up here. You're down there. It's the supernatural element. It's the element. That's what it is. It's the element. The supernatural element. Great stuff. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, is it time for Hollywood to make a good prison film again? Well, you mean like Shawshank or The Green Mile? It's all in the writing, man. All in the writing. Is it time for them to make a good... I'm not a big fan of prison movies, but I don't really... Like when I look at the Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, which are two of my favorite prison movies, I guess, but they're directed by the same guy, both based on Stephen King books, or Stephen King stories, at the very least. Because I think Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, I think that was a short story, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it was. I think. No, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a full novel, actually. Actually, I think it was. Maybe. Or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Anyway, that being said, they're not... They're character studies. They're dramas. You know what I mean? They're beautifully written stories and adapted into films, and beautifully directed by Frank Darabont. So, I mean, you know, like it all depends, right? Like there's the Shawshank Redemption and there's the Green Mile. And then there's like, you know, Lock Up with Sylvester Stallone, which is a prison movie. You know, there's The Longest Yard, which is, you could say, it's a football movie. Yeah, it's a prison movie. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it depends on what your idea of a prison movie is. I think Sylvester Stallone should remake Lock Up as himself. He's in there. He's this old, disgruntled, you know, kind of ripped but kind of not guy who can tear shit up. That would, you know, that'd be great. I'd love that. I'd love that. Super chat comes in from Anthony Stanfield. Says, did they pull H Kills from the theaters? No, not yet. It's still far enough away that there hasn't been a decision made on that yet. Thank you, buddy, for the super chat. Appreciate it. Chris Haim sends a super chat. Says, popping in at work to support the channel. Thank you, my man. Really appreciate it. Keep up the good work, Dave. Looking forward to supporting It's Me, Billy. We are looking forward to you supporting It's Me, Billy, as well. We are continuing to work hard behind the scenes, tweaking the Indiegogo campaign, fine tweaking the we have written out our little teaser trailer that we want to shoot for the campaign. Now, the teaser trailer is not, I mean, it is the purest, it is a legitimate teaser trailer. It is what teaser trailers used to be, and sometimes what you see today. But so it's not like, it's not heavily involved with all sorts of stuff. It is just a little bit of something to give you a little bit of the flavor of the idea of what we're talking about. And that's something that will go with the Indiegogo campaign. So, but we have it written down. We know what we're going to do. You know, we know how we're going to dress the scene and, you know, and whatnot. And we want to we just need to shoot it. Now, again, it's nothing huge, but it's just a little something to whet your appetite. But the equipment we need to rent, you know, we can't really rent at the moment. Well, we can, because Bruce obviously, you know, but there's some things we can't do. Excuse me. So we're just kind of waiting for a little bit of, even if we're able to open up just a little bit of something, we might be able to do that. So just need to do that. But we are very excited, folks. We are. And like I said, this is something that we're going to work hard on trying to raise the money to shoot this. And it's so important that we do raise the funds, and everything that's raised, of course, goes right back into the production and you know, insurance and equipment rentals and location rentals and craft services and the distribution of all the perks that, you know, we'll send to you guys. And, you know, it's a big ordeal. It's a big ordeal. But we are, I mean, I just sent the script to Victoria Miro a few days ago. She's our lead, Sam, and she got back to me. She was signing a talent release form, which obviously we have to have them do. And she got back to me and she said, I just read the script and it is killer. She said, I loved it. Now, I mean, what else is she going to say? I just read it. I thought it was fucking garbage, Dave. I mean, even if she did, she probably wouldn't say that. But I trust that she has enjoyed it. You know what I mean? And that she liked it. So it's so that's exciting. So we want to do this. Look at that. We need your help. We need your help, man. Chris Hames, buddy, coming through. Chris Hames going hard in the paint. Hard in the paint, coming through. Is there another super chat that came in? There was. Frank, my man, Riker. Frank Riker coming in hard in the paint as well. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate that. Frank says, Dave played, and he's paying for this. He's paying for this. Frank, my man. Dave played hopscotch with DGG. I did. Oh, no, Dave, you played hopscotch with Dave, comma, I played hopscotch. I get you now. With DGG and told me about the flashback. Fascinating, Frank. Fascinating. Loomis follows Michael into the Red Rabbit Lounge, saying, "It's time, Michael," and drinks him under the table until he passes out. Myers is arrested and Loomis walks away. That is actually really funny. That would be a funny fan-created sort of scene or something like that. That is actually really funny. That's really funny. I would love to see somebody create that because I think that's really funny. Oh, you guys are hilarious. Darren said, here we go. Darren, my man, says, Jeff Shell made a statement to release movies on both PVOD and theaters once cinemas reopen. Yes. AMC retaliated by writing to Donna Langley, refusing to exhibit Universal movies. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I did get it right. Listen, I understand if somebody were to say that AMC, that was a bold overreacting move. I can understand that. At the same time, I do understand AMC's principle of what they're saying. And I think that's why when I read it, I thought, yeah, I get it. But then at the same time, really what should be happening here is it feels, it feels like two children fighting back and forth. And I think that, when you're, and it's not that, I think at the professional level, there needs to be a dialogue there. That somebody should have reached out to Jeff, and maybe they did, and said, hey, listen, we saw that you said this. Is there any way we can come to what did you mean specifically? Can you clarify your comments here? Because this has us a little worried. I think what's going on is because of the situation we're in, because of COVID-19, because of people being out of work, and to be fair, some of those jobs it's temporary, but nonetheless, there are people that have lost their jobs altogether. Because people are out of work, because people are, stuck inside, there's a sense of cabin fever that's happening. And AMC is in big debt, as a lot of big companies are. Netflix is ridiculously in debt. And there were scares there for a while that AMC would have to shut down for good. We know that. I think when a big studio like Universal comes along and says something like that, there is a level of anxiety and a level of fear that is felt amongst a company that's future is already uncertain because of the times we're in. And I think that what ends up happening is that I think what AMC should have done is, instead of making what feels like a panic reactionary fuck you to statement, which I understand the principle of what they're saying, which is why I was like, I get it. But I think Darren makes a good point. And I think that what should have happened is, would AMC theaters have made the same comments in the same way under different circumstances 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 2 years ago, a year ago? Maybe not. There may have been a level of dialogue or reaching out that may have happened to try and come to some sort of agreement, like say, hey, I hear you're saying this here, hang on, right? I think because of the climate we're in, there's a certain level of anxiety and uncertainty for AMC's future altogether. And I think maybe the statement from AMC was a little bit of desperation, perhaps, even though it's, disguised in the way of hang on a sec here, you fucking piece of shit. I get it. I totally get it. I do. I can see both sides of the argument. But certainly there needs to be, at the end of the day, I think we can all agree, whatever the nuances were, that they need each other. I mean, look, as I said earlier in the show, maybe they won't need each other sometime in the future. But right now, at this present moment in time, the theatrical model is what brings in the most money. And they need each other. And I think that in order to have cooler heads prevail, there should be a more of a nuanced, calm approach and say, hey, listen, Jeff, I saw you say this. You know, can we have a phone call? Like, you know, can we talk? Is there maybe, you know, can we have a Skype session or something? Can we like something, you know, to kind of really hash this out and really feel that and find out what's really going on here. What's Jeff really thinking? You know, what's he really thinking? And really exchange that, have that kind of an exchange. But it didn't happen. Now it may happen. It may yet to happen, because I know Jeff has sort of walked back a bit of his comments. But I think that, I think that maybe the reactionary move from AMC was also because, let's not forget, they also felt slighted from a month or so ago when Universal even just decided to do this. They decided to release Trolls on VOD without letting the theater exhibitors know. So I mean, you know, it's sort of, they just made the decision. There was no consult. So I think there's still a bit of that. It's a little bit of rubbing the rug, because I think the theaters were like, okay, eventually agreed to it. Okay. And then now there's this. And I think it was just maybe a little bit of extra, maybe the straw that broke the camel's back, a little bit of that, you know, and because of uncertain times. I mean, it was just a couple of weeks ago or a week or so ago, whatever it was, that AMC, I mean, there was the real serious threat of them folding. So, you know, I mean, I think there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of anxiety over at AMC. And when you see one of the largest movie studios in the world, you know, say something like, yeah, we're going to think, yeah, we'll see. We'll pick, we're kind of thinking about it. But that's not enough information there, right? And that's when you reach out. That's when you reach out and say, hey, can somebody get that Jeff guy on the phone, please, because we need to talk about this. And I think that's what should have happened, but it didn't, and it makes great drama. And, you know, so you got both sides going back and forth, kind of flexing their muscles, right? So anyways, I saw you followed up here, Darren. There's been a power shift. Exhibition have always been calling the shots. Now they're severely wounded. Universal are flexing their muscles for their own agenda. Agreed. 100%. Oh yeah, for sure. And, you know, I believe, look, there's a, yeah. And it's not, and look, and it's not a 50-50 split. Like when movie theaters are when a movie is in the theater, they don't, especially, well, are we okay? Yeah, we're still on. When a big movie comes out, the movie theater, especially that first weekend, and maybe for the first couple of weeks, it's not a 50-50 split. I mean, it could be as high as even 90-10, 80-20, you know, in terms of the revenue that's generated at the theater. Now, I think that I stand to be corrected, but I think it's a scale. And I think the further along a movie is in theaters, the more of the money it generates goes to the theater chain, I believe. But if you're releasing Endgame, it's not like it's a 50-50. No. The vast majority of that money generated essentially in its first few weeks, absolutely, goes to the studio. And and then there's a sliding sort of scale that eventually it might get to 50-50 eventually. I don't know. I'd have to brush up on my knowledge on that, but that's from what I remember. But Darren's right though. I mean, yeah, there's a power shift, and that sort of goes with what I was saying about how, you know, you say that they feel vulnerable. You're absolutely right. You know, because you said severely wounded. Okay, yeah, vulnerable, right? Because, oh my God, what the hell is going to happen? And I think that reaction from AMC was, although I get it, I understand. It's like, what are you doing? Like, we need each other here. Like, don't do that. Like, you're supposed to be our friend. You know, like, I get I get it. Like, I totally get it, Jeff. But hey, whoa, wait, buddy, what are you doing? Can we talk about this? Like, come on, like let's help each other out. And I think there should have been a reaching across the aisle, as they say, right? But there wasn't. And it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. But I'm not worried about Universal not playing movies in AMC theaters. I just don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, we'll go for a little bit longer here. Darren's follows up with, this is a dodgy area for me. It would never be as high as 90 or even 80. It was, you're right. But it's not 50-50 either. It may be 70-30, 60-40. It's not 50, like that opening weekend, like Avengers Endgame or some tentpole film like that, 50% of the revenue is not going to the theater. And most of the theater's revenue comes from their concessions. What percentage goes to, well, all of it, I think. Does all of it go to the concessions? Because there's the concessions as well. And a lot of that goes to, that's where they make the bulk of their cash. You're right. It may not be high as 90-10, but it's certainly not it's not as low as 50-50 out of the gate. No way. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, do you think drive-ins will come back? I get this all the time. Come back big time like everyone is saying. I'm not buying it. No, it's a different era. It's a novelty. Drive-ins are novelties now, and I think drive-ins will see a spike, and I think you'll see a spike because of the novelty of it. But when we get back to normal, it's not like, people prefer going to the drive-in. No, it's a novelty thing. It's not comfortable. I mean, look, it can be comfortable, but I'm saying generally in comparison to, the experience is not the best. It's not the best speakers. It's not the best screen. You're in your car and it's a novelty. It's fun. It's like camping. Is camping wonderful? No, it's a fun sort of just kind of, thing. It's a novelty. So I think it will make a comeback a little bit, but I don't think it's going to, be a thing anymore. I don't think so. Eddie Green says, Dave, because remember Arthur goes to let him leave and then lunges at him jokingly. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, in that respect, I guess it would be similar. I see what you're saying, Eddie. Thanks for this. Thanks for the clarification, man. Appreciate it. Intel Wild sent a super chat and says, Dave, I was referring earlier to a guy like Bud, Amazing Grace in the OG Halloween 2 would never get the hot nurse in the jacuzzi. I don't know. Bud wasn't, he wasn't Leo Rossi, I believe his name is, right? He wasn't an ugly guy. He was just a bit of a dick, right? A lot of dicks out there get girls. That's a whole other meaning right there. A lot of guys who are dicks get a lot of women. Just saying, they do, a lot of bad boys, right? They got a lot of, and he's that kind of guy. So, it's not like Mr. Garrett was hooking up with the nurse, right? Then it would have been like, what? Mr. Garrett? I don't know. Can you imagine Mr. Garrett? Then it's kind of, but Leo, he was in good shape, slim guy. He was all right. He just was a dick. I'm telling you, Mr. Garrett had a thing. I'm just saying. Darren Sand says, we need to take this offline. Yeah, hey, feel free to message me, man. But, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, that's what, from my recollection, when it comes to theater chain numbers in terms of who gets what, you're right. You are right. It's probably not as high as 90-10, but it ain't, but they're not generating the most. I'm thinking it's maybe 60-40, 70-30, somewhere in there. But I think it's a sliding scale though. And I think, yeah, I have to brush up on it, but that's where my feeling is from what I haven't looked into this in a long time. And we learned a bit about this in film school as well. But then again, that's 20 years ago. Gary Rangel says, Dave, can David Gordon Green bring all these icons back? He directed H-18 so well. Well, I don't think David Gordon Green would be hired to do Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Scream, Hellraiser. And let's remember that he's directing the pilot for the Hellraiser show. He's not necessarily going to be the director on every episode. Okay. So as Darren Sand said to me the other day, and he's right, the director who directs the pilot will set the tone, but it will be very interesting to see if there's any tonal shift as well, and where that's going to go, and you know, what kind of movie that's going to, or what kind of TV show it's going to be. David Gordon Green's fine, but I don't think you would want to hire him for everything. I don't think that doesn't make any sense creatively as well. Matthew Hatsamalia says, Dave Cliche. That's right, Dave Cliche. Do you recommend a community theater for starting an acting career? Community theater is great. Yes, I do. And the reason I was involved in it years ago, the reason why is because now community theater is, I mean, I can't speak for everywhere, but it's free. It's volunteer, obviously. But the most important thing about community theater is you get to flex your acting muscles. It's great experience. It's theater, so it helps. So you're live on stage, so it helps to build confidence, and you meet other people who are just as excited and passionate about performance and acting as you are, and you forge relationships that way, and you can make friends that way. It's a terrific thing to do. And, you know, again, like I said, I mean, it's not Broadway, but I mean, it's a great starting point. And it's also a great area to see if you even like it. It's a lot of hard work. You got to memorize lines. You got to show up for rehearsals. You know, you got dress rehearsals, and you got non-dress rehearsals, and you got, when I say non-dress rehearsals, I don't mean you're naked. You got clothing rehearsals. You got nude rehearsals. I don't mean that. I just mean that a dress rehearsal is you're in full costume, right? Non-dress rehearsals, just rehearsals would be you're just in your regular street clothes, going through the motions, working out the blocking, and, you know, things like that. Yeah, I mean, 100%, man, 100%. Yeah, I think that is a terrific thing to do. And I think you'll have a lot of fun. And depending on the play you do, or the show that you do, and the part that you get, it'll be really a lot of fun. But you'll have a ball because of the relationships you're building. And that's, 100%. I recommend that, absolutely. Intel Wild said, oh no, I read that one, the jacuzzi one. Let me go back, see if I missed any super chats. I don't think I did. Let's see here. No, I don't believe I did. Good. Good stuff. All right, we'll go for a little bit longer here. Let's take this to I was going to say 1:40. It's 12:36. Let's take this to an hour and 40 minutes, which is another 8 minutes from now. So let's do that. Another 8-10 minutes or so. DMT Infinity says, Dave, can I put makeup on you and make you look like a classy gothic rock and roll vampire? I would prefer not. But you go and do that to yourself and knock yourself out. Michael Doherty says, Dave, what are your thoughts on a 10-part Halloween miniseries? Depends what it is, right? I mean, are we talking Michael Myers, or are we talking something that's in the Halloween universe? You know, the one area, and I've mentioned this before, the one area where people often say, or will often refer to as a area in the timeline to go back to for Michael Myers, of course, is when Michael is in Smith's Grove as a boy. But you know, I am a firm believer that I don't think that should ever be knowable. We know all we need to know. He was locked up for 15 years. Dr. Loomis watched him for 15 years. He spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because he realized what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely simply evil. There you go. That's it. I mean, what is that show going to be about? Somebody on the channel a couple of weeks ago said, what about a Loomis series with Dr. Loomis leading up to Michael Myers? So we watch him with other patients. It's like, well, okay, maybe, but you know, I think it's a safe bet to say that Michael was the anomaly. Michael was sort of the moment, like what is Dr. Loomis without Michael Myers? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, is this a medical drama? Like, I mean, I don't, and I know you want to say that, well, maybe he has other, but would he have other fucked up patients? No, he would have other patients that are struggling, that have trouble, serious, maybe, perhaps, sure. But Michael Myers, we're led to believe, is the quintessential, he's the patient, you know, he's evil. You don't want to have anybody in Dr. Loomis's life that this might make a great standalone video, actually. But anyway, you don't want to have anybody in Dr. Loomis's life that overshadows Michael Myers. You don't want to, synthetically create a character for the character of Loomis to be dealing with that could actually inadvertently end up being far more interesting than Michael Myers, maybe even cooler than I want to see a movie. You don't want him to upstage the granddaddy that Loomis eventually meets, which is this little 6-year-old child. So you don't want to do that. So going back into Loomis's life, we find out that Michael was the first, right? We find out that he wasn't the first. We find out that, oh my God, he had Loomis was into the occult and shit. And really? I don't see that. I see that Loomis, how it sort of played out to me in that original film is Loomis was a psychiatrist that has dealt with, and probably a child psychiatrist, or at least had a history in pediatrics or something, you know what I mean? Like something to deal with child psychology and whatever. But his career up to that point was largely linear, largely, par for the course. That doesn't mean that there weren't some weird, creepy, fucked up people that he saw, or weird, creepy, fucked up people that a doctor friend of his knew or whatever. Sure. I mean, it's a psychiatric ward, right? But Michael Myers is the anomaly. Michael Myers is the out of this world, right? And so you don't want to have anybody that upstages him. So anyway, to get back to the crux of your question, sure, but where? I just think the people tend to want to go to Loomis. I don't know where you would go, unless you want to use something that is in the Halloween universe but isn't Michael Myers, like Charlie Bowles or, Mr. Riddle. I don't know. Something like that, right? I don't know. Or Season of the Witch, maybe. I don't know. I think it would have to be it would be an very interesting sort of take. Very interesting sort of take, for sure. All right, a couple more minutes. Let me see here. Intel Wild sends another super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. You've been great today. Can you please say, hey, Dave, trick or treat, motherfucker, in Trump's voice and get off my lawn in the old man voice, please, so I can record them to put them on my phone? You mean right now? Well, I can do it right now. That's not something that I normally do because, I'd be doing it all the time if I started doing that. But what I can do is I can do it right now for you on the show, and then you can take it and use it how you want to use it. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Hey, Dave, trick or treat, motherfucker. You are a motherfucker, Dave. Trick or treat, motherfucker. And then, get off my lawn. Hey, get off my lawn, you fucker. You piece of shit. Get out of here, you son of a bitch. There you go. Enjoy it. Anthony Stanfield says, is it true that Jared Leto might play Freddy? I haven't heard anything about that. I don't know. Is it true? I don't know. Somebody tell me. Is it true? I have no idea. No idea. Robert Kitzmiller sends a super chat, says, Dave, I'm ready to donate as soon as possible for It's Me, Billy. Yes, Robert. Great to know, Robert. Great to know. We'll have some cool perks up there for people to pick if you want to pick one and things like that. We're also going to be doing a lot of, not a lot, but we'll be doing a couple of It's Me, Billy-a-thons on this channel as well, myself and Bruce, and I might have a guest on or two, maybe somebody from the cast or crew. We'll be doing a live show where we go for several hours, but we take nothing but super chats. And that's just, and everything raised from that will go into the movie, of course. We're also thinking about having sort of like a tip jar as well. I think actually you might be able to donate through Indiegogo without getting a perk. I think that's possible. But one of the reasons why not to say that you should do that, but one of the reasons why I was thinking about setting up like a tip jar as well, like, a certain email that you can donate to, is because sometimes people might have a couple extra bucks lying around. Maybe they have, $2 here, $5 there, and they don't really want to donate to a perk again. Like they don't want to get, I've already got that. I've already got this. I don't want another one of that or this. And they just kind of want to throw $5, And they certainly can do it through the super chats, but maybe they want to donate to like a tip jar or something like that, right? So we're thinking about that as well. We're also looking into, other areas of funding too. But the Indiegogo campaign, we're really counting on hopefully raising most of our budget through that, which would be great. So when we do go live, tell as many people as you can, share it on your Instagrams and your Facebooks and your Twitters and your Facebook groups, and talk to your friends, talk to your family. Maybe somebody that would be itching to donate to something like that or whatever the case. Who knows? But anything you guys can do to help, of course, we really do appreciate, because we're really excited about this. But of course, you can't make it without the money. Sad reality of the world we live in, but it is a reality nonetheless. I wish we could just sort of, do it, but it'll be fun. And we want to give you guys the Black Christmas sequel we deserve. All right. Jim Dorsey says, Dave, it's my 41st birthday. Is it your 41st birthday today? It's been awesome hanging with you on my lunch break in quarantine. That's right. Well, happy birthday, Jim, the big 41. I'll be 41. I'll be 41 24 days from now. May the 24th, I turn the big 41. So that's, God, I just can't believe it. Dia Maria says, happy birthday, Jim. Dia, I haven't forgot about you. I haven't forgot about your Patreon message that you sent me. I just want to let you know that I've not forgotten about you. Sometimes it takes me a few days to get back to people because there's crazy shit going on, but I am going to get back to you and give you my thoughts on that interesting thing that you asked me about. Alexander Dirksen. Hello, Dave. Have you seen Phenomena from Dario Argento with Donald Pleasance and Jennifer Connelly? Great horror film. Check it out. I have not, but I'm definitely going to have to check that out. That is interesting stuff. No, I have not checked that out. All right, let's see. Danita Brown says, happy birthday, Jim. Yes, Jim, happy birthday, my man, Jim Dorsey. All right, that might be a good area to leave it there. Let's do it. Oh, Eddie Green comes hard in the paint with one last one. He says, Streamlabs, Dave, YT takes 30% of each super chat. Oh, I know. We might set it up. It's just we've got so many other things going on right now, but it is possibly on the list. I hear you, Eddie. I hear you. We got many avenues to figure that out, but definitely it is something that we are going to be thinking about. Listen, folks, that is going to do it for me on episode 49 of McRae Live. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to my moderators, of course, Darren Sands, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Jason Nike. You guys are amazing. You guys keep the flow of the chat going. You really do. And it's so great to have you guys here monitoring everything and keeping everybody in check. And thank you, of course, to everybody who contributed to the channel today via Super Chats. Really do appreciate it. And also thank you to the non-Super Chat questions as well. Of course, if I didn't get to your question, always know it's never personal. There's just a lot of people in the room, a lot of people asking questions. Ask it again next time, and maybe I'll see it and I will I'll answer it. So don't give up, folks. Don't give up. I will be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 50 of McRae Live. 50. What is tomorrow's topic going to be to celebrate 50 episodes? You'll have to wait and see. All right, that's going to do it for me. Have a great rest of your day. Don't forget, my links are in the description below. I will talk to you guys soon in the meantime and in between time. Alrighty. Cheers.